Wavelet Audio released a new library Runa, Elder scoring strings, featuring a beautiful and sorrowful sounding traditional Kazakh instrument kobyz, which in my opinion is a perfect addition to any video game music composer's library. Personally, I like connecting to the new sample libraries by writing a piece of music driven by them, so I wrote this atmospheric fantasy piece, The Lost Rune. So let's dive straight into it. First we'll listen to the full track, and then I'm gonna show you how I made it using Runa. Often when it's a solo instrument library, it can be hard to make an entire piece revolving around the sounds of the library. But what surprised me about Runa specifically is how versatile it is. Apart from the traditional articulations you would expect of this instrument, Wavelet Audio provided a huge list of presets and effects that can help you transform the sound of it. And this is exactly what I wanted to do with my demo. I wanted to explore all the different sounds and see how they work in context. Let's start with the traditional legato articulation. There are quite a few features that make it extremely versatile. First, you have two different types of legato. One is true legato, which is like the slurry glissando type of legato, and the other one is the rebow legato, which might be more useful for quicker passages. This variety can help you add realism to the sound. In this example, you can hear how I use true legato. I wanted to make the sound flow in the intro track, and this is what this type of articulation is useful for. What you can also notice is how velocity defines the speed of this legato transition. Another great addition to this library is being able to change the rhythmic patterns within the legato articulation. Right now it's set to the full bar going into harmonics after the note plays out, but it can also be switched to different other subdivisions. Speaking of harmonics, it's probably the highlight of the entire library for me. I don't think I've seen it in any other library, but for me it just adds so much to the character of the sound. There are two types of harmonics based on the intensity of it: normal and hard. And there are two ways you can switch between them. You can either use automatic harmonics, like in the example I showed you before, or you can use key switches while playing, and then the note will instantly change to the harmonic no matter where you play it. Honestly, I already see myself overusing this feature in the future, so be prepared. As you have probably noticed in the demo, this library is not only useful for legato, but also for some other articulations. What I really enjoyed using a lot were the short articulations and especially presets that tried to imitate the sound of different instruments. Here is the sound similar to pipa, a Chinese string instrument, which you can imitate using the pizzicato articulation in this library. And here is a sound similar to guitar plucks, but with its own kind of character. The other short articulations to explore in this library are staccato, spiccato, short harmonics, ricochet, and crescendo, which is incredibly useful because you can time it to the grid and choose between the three different types of crescendo. Tremolo is yet another articulation that, in my opinion, sounds brilliant. As I mentioned before, this library is full of different presets that you can explore to get inspired and see what you can create with Runa. Let me show you a few of my favorites that I used on the demo track. Runa has a lot of different ambient pads and drones as presets. Here is how I used two of them to create this texture in the background of my track. Can you imagine that kobyz can also sound like percussion? And this is one of those small presets that I am really happy about them adding, because I really like all of those clicking instruments that sound like clock ticking, and that's what I used it for the subtle rhythm in the background. But probably my most favorite presets are the ones that feature overdriven kobyz. Sometimes it sounds like electric guitar, and sometimes it sounds like it belongs into the Cyberpunk 2077 world. And actually there are a few presets that are made specifically for this purpose and sound almost identical to the cello you can hear on the Cyberpunk 2077 soundtrack. Of course, you can always tweak the presets and change the sound of it, or make completely new sounds using the built-in plugins as well as rhythmic patterns. It's all about how you want to use this library. So, as I mentioned in the video, this library was a huge surprise for me. And it's very hard for me to find something to not like about this library because of how polished and unique it is. It has a beautiful UI design, which at the same time doesn't compromise on usability, which is something you can see in quite a lot of libraries, where you have this picturesque designs, but then the buttons are way too small to use, or they have to hide some menus, but it's not the case with this library. It's also a very diverse sounding instrument, which I could see myself using in many different settings, from fantasy to something way more dynamic like music in cyberpunk or doom. And here's the one thing that is very important for me. It's very easy to use and sounds incredible straight out of the box. When you have tight deadlines, the last thing you want to do is spend hours tweaking the sounds just to make them useful. And with this library, I will definitely never have to worry about it. So that's about it. I hope you enjoyed this video. Let me know in the comments how you would use this library. Huge thank you to Wavelet Audio, and if you want to support me and see more videos like this, then leave a like and consider subscribing to my channel because it really helps me grow. Thank you, and I see you on the next one. Cheers.